Hey there, I'm Alyssa, and this is Speak Brown Girl, where we speak our truth on Black women, relationships, and religion. I'm a divorced mom of three littles, a digital marketer, and a theologian. I'm a feminist, womanist, and a strong Black independent woman. I like my comedy sarcastic, my traveling frequent, and my dancing a little hood.
And I'm Star, a nonprofit professional by day and a real estate entrepreneur by night. More importantly, I am a new wife, a sister, a daughter, and a friend, connoisseur of spicy food and good coffee. I stand for the gospel, Black liberation, and head wraps. I am unapologetically a Black Christian woman.
And I'm Marvi. I'm a senior administrative assistant, actress, and a woman of God. I enjoy game nights, exploring new places, meeting new faces, and anything animal related. I find Black music, culture, and church are where I find the most joy.
Thank you for joining us for season 2, episode 7. In today's topic, we will be talking about the topic, are Black women too defensive? But before we get into today's topics, we want to let you know that Speak Brown Girl is now on YouTube at Speak Brown Girl Podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video. And if you're a new or faithful podcast listener, don't forget to rate and review our show. Today, we don't have an in the news. Are we going to do it in the news?
We have a news update. So last podcast, we talked about Offset giving Cardi B a car for her birthday and people chanting, "Take him back." And we just got news that she took him back. So, I mean, I don't know if anybody has much to say about that, but that's just an update from our last news segment.
And that's that on that.
It's not my life.
We were rooting for you, girl. I was rooting for you. Yeah.
I mean, I knew she was going to take him back after he bought the car that she could have bought herself, but you know. So, Marvi, what's the unpopular opinion that you have for us today?
My unpopular opinion.
Yes.
Well, today, my unpopular opinion, if we're talking about the same unpopular opinion, is that oh, right, yes, there it is. I keep forgetting that this is my segment, yeah. And I'm like, ad-lib it, wing it, improv. I don't know. What are we talking about?
What were you about to say? That's all I want to know.
All right, so here's the unpopular opinion. So recently a tweet came out by a young woman who said, "Why is the pressure to be the bigger person always placed on the person who was wronged?" And yeah. So this is her opinion. She thinks that it should not be the case. And I would say I agree. I agree that it's wrong to put oftentimes the victim, to call the victim to be the bigger person and be like, okay, well, I'll be the bigger person. I'll take one for the team. I'll step up and, you know, just so this fight can be over. Nah, like that's where they do that at. I mean, everywhere, but yeah. What are your thoughts on this quote, ladies?
Sorry, you should go.
I agree with the quote as well. I specifically get frustrated with this, especially when it has to do with race and race issues and like the burden of like being patient and teaching and explaining is always on like Black people or other people of color to do, instead of like the burden being on the group who has actually caused harm throughout history. And it's like, well, you have to be patient, you have to pursue reconciliation, but like that reconciliation, like that pursuit of reconciliation always seems to be like geared toward the group that has been
excuse me.
And so I think that, like, I mean, obviously we see that in like all types of relationships, but recently that's where I'm like, nah, you have to acknowledge your own things. It's not my responsibility to carry the weight.
I agree.
I'm sorry, we got the giggles today.
Sorry, I sneezed and I don't have coronavirus, y'all. My nose was tickling me. I couldn't hit mute in time. I was trying so hard. I was like, mute or this. Like, sneeze into my shirt or press mute. I don't know. I'm going to sneeze into my shirt. What are your thoughts, Alyssa?
You know, I know as Christians, we are called to, you know, when somebody wrongs you, you know, to be the bigger person. You know, they slap one cheek, you offer them the other cheek. That's just not a reality. It's not a reality for me, and I don't want to do that. I do it, but I don't want to. And most of the times I do it just because I'm like a peacekeeper and I just like to keep the peace. I don't want any drama. I just want to keep the peace. But like, I get tired of being the bigger person. And it's like, you know, well, apologize. Something happened last week and I was like, no. And everybody was looking at me like, you're not gonna, no. Mm-mm. And I still haven't. And I don't feel bad about it. I don't feel bad about it. Just simply because I think maybe this stems back to, I don't know if this is a race thing, right? But maybe this stems back to like, you know, our families and just the way that we were taught to handle things and just, you know, say whatever, do whatever you got to do to keep the peace. But for me, by me just being like, you know, trying to keep the peace or like be the bigger person, you're not acknowledging that you hurt me. And so if you're not acknowledging that you hurt me, there's going to be a chance that you're going to do it again because you didn't even know what you did hurt me. You know what I mean? And so like, I'm trying to stay where I tell people like, stop them dead in their tracks. Like, no, that hurts. That's offensive. I don't, you know, even though if what you said may not have, you know, intended to be hurtful, it hurts, you know? And I think that people need to be cognizant of that, because if you're just like, oh, I'm just always going to be the bigger person, I'm always going to be the bigger person, when is that other person going to like learn their lesson? You know what I mean? I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, I'm giving the same energy I get. I'm not one of those people, but I'm now like, you did hurt me and this is how it hurts. And if an apology is what you're seeking, I'm sorry, but you did hurt me. You know what I mean?
You're muted, Star.
Oh, good, because I thought I cut you off, so I'm glad I was muted. But I was gonna say, I think that we think like that people don't talk about accountability enough and holding people accountable for their actions, especially those who we're in actual close relationship with. And that's also valid. One, you should be holding yourself accountable to your actions. It's not even like solely on other people to hold you accountable. You should hold your own self accountable and take responsibility for what you do and for your own growth and learning. But also, we can hold other people accountable without feeling like we're doing something wrong when we do so, or that we not are allowed to say like, hey, that hurt me, oh, that was wrong, like that wasn't the right way to approach the situation. And this is just a harmful thing that you continue to do, and it's not acceptable. And we have to be able to do that, and to also set and maintain boundaries around unhealthy people as well, because it's like, oh, you're like harboring unforgiveness. Like, no, like setting boundaries, that does not mean that you don't forgive that person. It just means that you understand what you need to do in order to protect yourself, and even maybe that person too, from their own behavior, or from retaliation.
And I think too, going back to the whole Christian narrative, I think a lot of Christians get it twisted that we just supposed to be like passive sheep and like we're not supposed to like speak up for ourselves when God clearly gives us a mouth to use, and we're supposed to call out injustice. Like, you look at the example, I think it's Paul, I might have all my Bible characters wrong in this analogy, but when they had imprisoned Paul, and he was a whole Roman. Like, he wasn't like, okay, well, you know, I'm just gonna let this slide. He was like, nah, you gonna apologize to me in front of all these people, and we ain't gonna let this slide. I'm a Roman. Y'all did me wrong. Like, y'all were racist, and it was wrong. So I think that there are a lot of biblical accounts that don't play into this narrative that we've created that Christians are supposed to just be walked on. Like, that's not true. Yes, like in some instances, I do believe, yeah, you do things for peace sake, but when there is blatant injustice, we need to call out those systems that have been put into place that are wrong and that are oppressing women, or, you know, Black women, or, you know, the minority, if you will. Like, we can't just continue to let that slide and just say, well, this is what Jesus would do. Nah, don't throw Jesus into the mix of poor choices or silence, because silence is just as harmful. Or, you know, just laying down and letting people walk over you is just as harmful.
Yeah, and people continuing to perpetuate those ideals as well, even like under systems. Speaking of that, on our last episode, we said that we would talk about interracial dating, especially between white and Black people. And so I think that we could also talk about Marvelin's story around having to confront someone and hold them accountable for their words as well. So Marvelin, would you like to tell us that story?
Sure. I'll try to give you guys as an abbreviated version as possible. But basically,
we need you to read the thread though.
All right, I will read the threads. Back in August, I decided to join a dating app, and I also decided to do something that I've never done, was entertain the idea of possibly dating a white man. I was like, you know what? Let me give this whole thing a try. It was also around the time that Love is Blind had just come out, and everybody was like, oh, Cam and Lauren, like, oh, I need to find me a Cam. Oh, let me find my white guy. So I was like, maybe let's see if we can give white Cam a chance. All right. So I matched up with this guy who had matched me or liked me or whatever. So we had been talking just for like a very short time. So I decided to ask him, have you ever dated a Black woman before? Just to see what his response was. This was his response, guys. And I quote, I have. I know all about the sass, no filter, hair issues, etc. LOL. I prefer brown-skinned women. I honestly don't see color, but rarely, if ever, date white people. Not my thing. End quote. Oh no, and then, what about you? So, as I'm reading this, y'all know my face can't really hide things. And thankfully, obviously, this was just over text. But I was just like, head could have just spun all the way over. Like, what did you just say about Black women, sass, no filter, hair issues? What? So of course I had to call my girls or text my girls. So.
Yeah, you know that made it to the group chat. You already know.
So I'm trying to get their opinion. I was fuming. So I reached out to them, as Black women that I respect. I was like, y'all, like, listen to what this man texted me. So I was like, what do you think I should do? Because I'm literally about to go off. And they're like, just forget it. Like, it's not worth it. Don't even entertain it. He ain't gonna learn. Save your breath, sis. All of that they telling me. Of course, I'm hard-headed, and I find everything got to be a teaching moment. So I decided to go off, and I texted them so that they could proofread basically what I was about to say to him. So this is what I said in response. I see color, not only because it's a beautiful characteristic that God has given to each of us, but because there are sinful systems in the world that have made our skin differences cause to justify ill treatment or better treatment. Every Black woman is different. So for you to automatically project that all Black women are sassy, don't have filters, and have issues with their hair is insensitive, whether that was your intention or not. I've never dated a white man, but I'm open to dating a white man that is mindful of his word choices and sees Black women as valuable and not problematic. As my brother in Christ, because he said he was a Christian, I do hope you will reevaluate how you see and speak to or about Black or brown women. Take care. So that's what I sent. So of course, like, I didn't unmatch him because I wanted him to read it. Because I wanted him, if he had never heard from a Black woman that this frame of mind was not okay, I wanted him to hear it because he allegedly has dated brown skin and Black women. So, Star, you want to interject? Go ahead.
I just want to interject that if you're listening to this podcast, you might want to watch this segment on YouTube because she just did the hand grab thing when she was talking. And so you need to see the context around the words that you're hearing. That's all I have to say.
Oh gosh. So he responded, guys, the response is worse than the comments that he gave. This is what this man had the nerve to type. He said, wow, ... You took that way out of context. The adjectives I used were for humor. Parentheses, thought you'd laugh, close parentheses. I understand the ideological mindset that humanity has placed on appearance. I've studied psychology and cognitive behavior therapy for over 10 years for my life coaching practice. My point was, I see color, but my focus goes beyond shade, the shade of someone's skin. Of course, I see the beauty in brown skin. As I mentioned previously, not being attracted to white women. We are all first attracted to physical beauty, but in depth, core values and personality, that drives and deepens the relationship. I didn't expect you to respond that way. Clearly, text messaging doesn't show intonations and humor accurately. I am sorry that my text offended you. Parentheses, that was not my intent. Close parentheses. Y'all need to see Alyssa's face. So of course I couldn't leave it at that. I had to respond again and say, thank you for your apology, but the fact that your list of adjectives to describe Black women were things most people deem as negative and that you thought were humorous is the exact reason why I asked the question in the first place of, have you dated a Black woman before? How you thought I would laugh at you basically calling Black women problematic, even while you're quote unquote attracted to them, in a time where Black women are yet and still the most disrespected people in America is beyond me. And then after that I only wrote you back to say, please don't joke in this way with other Black women, Black and brown women. And that was the end. And then I unmatched him. When I gave it some time to be like, maybe he read it. I don't know if he read it. We're going to give it another 5 minutes just to make sure he reads it. I wonder if he read it. I don't know. We all unfollow him because we're done here. So that was my first experience talking to a white guy on Hinge who tried to white-splain / mansplain / call me the one for trying to explain to him that he offended me. He tried to bring in his whole cognitive behavioral BS into my pointing out that he was being insensitive.
Yeah, he definitely mansplained you.
Mansplained, white-splained the heck out of
that. Like, oh, you took that the wrong way. Like, no, what you said was wrong. She laid out exactly the multiple things that you said that were wrong. You said that it was taken the wrong way. Like, no, your intent was still wrong. Like, you thinking that it was funny is a part of the problem. Like, why would you think that was funny?
And my issue is, how you gonna tell me about me?
How you gonna tell me about me as a Black?
Tell me about me. How you gonna tell me about my experience as a Black woman and you are a white man? I had a Black man trying to tell me about my experience as a Black woman. You're not a Black woman. You can't tell me about me.
Exactly.
And you can't tell me that something offends me. If I tell you that something offends me, you can't tell me that it doesn't or that I took it the wrong way. The way that I feel is bad. Like, you don't tell me my feelings are not valid because that wasn't your initial intent. That doesn't mean that it didn't still hurt.
But you know I mean, but the fact that also for him to use those adjectives with someone that he doesn't know that he's having the first conversation with, like that also shows you that you're using stereotypes. I could see if you actually were talking to a woman that you got to know and she might have had no filter or whatever the other adjective she might have been complaining about her hair or something like that. But there was no evidence at all of any of that in the very first conversation that you're having with someone over the internet. And if you are using stereotypes to make jokes about her race, you don't get it, and you're wrong. She didn't take it wrong. You were wrong. And that's the thing. Like, you have to stop and say, maybe I was wrong, which was, your point in sharing that with him so that he wouldn't repeat that or that scenario, that situation with another woman of color. But again, like, I still don't think it was your responsibility to do so. He can go and be ignorant and get cussed out if you want to, if you keep playing. But yeah, I still admire you for holding him accountable, even though, again, like, that's not your responsibility to do so, but you made it your responsibility in that situation to do so, and you read him and you unmatched him, and I ain't mad at it.
You know what? And I actually had a conversation with a blank guy before, and I asked him why did he like Black women. He said he only dates Black women, and he said, "Oh, because it just feels like God left y'all in the oven a little bit too long."
Too long?
See how offensive that is? So you're calling me burned? Is that what you are insinuating? That I'm
overcooked? A mistake? Over the cook time?
It's just like they don't watch their words is the thing. They think that they can just say these flippant things, and
but that's the privilege. Okay. That's the privilege, right? That's the privilege. Oh, and that's the issue.
It is.
That's the issue. Is that you have the privilege to just say whatever comes to your mind and think that it's okay. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And hear me when I say that, like, I do believe interracial relationships can and do work, right?
Oh my God.
No, they can and do work. And the most important thing, and I think it's just a reoccurring theme in every episode, is communication. You have to be able to have these important conversations at the beginning of your relationship. Like, lay it all out on the table. And that goes for even non-romantic relationships too. You got a white friends or what have you, and the white friend says something, you have to let people know at the beginning, like, look, fam, I'm not okay with you joking in this way. Look, fam, what you said was not okay, it was hurtful. And I'm not here to, like, teach you about why it was hurtful, but I would really, especially if you're a believer, a follower of Christ, really check your heart, or ask God to search your heart, Holy Spirit, to really bring to mind why that saying was not okay with me or with people of color. But yeah, have the conversation early, women. If you're a Black woman out there looking to explore, have it early.
Yeah, I think, because I was trying to think, I don't think I've talked to white men before. I've actually talked to maybe 3, but not like, they were not on the same level. Like, there were 3 men in my past I've worked with, 3 white men in my past I've worked with, who showed interest in me, but I don't remember having to have explicit race conversations with them. I remember one of them particularly was actually kind of funny. He was pretty mean. He was a butthole, and I actually only flirted with him to disarm him. In the way, the way that he showed up in, like, as like a butthole, kind of aggressive. But then after that, he melted into pieces after that, and he was pretty nice. But I don't remember having any explicit race conversations with any person of a different race that I've talked to in the past. But it's also been a long time, because obviously now I'm married. I've dated a lot since then. That was a long time ago. But I do think it's important. And I also think like where you are in life is important, where you are in, on the woke meter. So like people have different tolerances for, like everybody's in different places. Some people, like, depending on your context, it may not be that many like cultural differences. And I say that because, like, for someone who is Black but may have like spent a lot of time around white people, their like cultural like context may be more similar to that of a white person, or or like if they live in a different country, you know, and they ended up with the Asian person or Hispanic person, depending on where they were. So I don't want to say like, oh, it's always a different culture, because maybe it's not. So, but whatever your context is important, especially whether you're coming from a different race, a different culture, different belief systems, that you have those important conversations up front.
It is, because you want to make sure that, like, when you're not around, that, let's say hypothetically, like this white man that you're dating or what have you, they're going to be willing to stand up for you and your people when you're not around. Like, they're going to be a good representation of you in other circles. Like, hey, you know, that's not funny. Like, that's not okay. And not to pull the card like, well, my wife is Black, or, you know, my child is Black. It's just like, no, it's not an appropriate joke. And I would rather you not say that in my presence, much less at all. So yeah,
this guy I worked with at this tech company. It was mostly white men, and he asked. Actually, multiple white guys have asked me if I date white men. Do I look like I date white men? Yeah. I don't know what a look is, but I've had a lot ask me if I date white men. And one of them I'm really good friends with now. I'm really good friends with him and his wife. He wasn't married then, obviously. The other one I worked with, and he was like, you know, do you date white men? And I was like, no. He was like, why? I was like, you can't bring me home to grandma. He was like, my grandma would love you. There's a huge chance she's racist. So, and then I said that. And then the other white guy was like, my grandma, based off of how liberal I am, my grandma expects me to come home with someone Black. I was like, definitely don't want to do that then.
But I mean, yeah, expects and will still resent you for it. Like,
but see, with him, I mean, and we're still, like I said, we're still really, really good friends. With him, I never doubted, like, you know, obviously I wasn't interested in him or anything like that, but if we were to ever date, like, there's no doubt that he would be like contending for me, you know what I mean? And educating his grandma or whoever, because even now they got married in COVID. Yeah, they got married in COVID. I want to say in the summer, him and his wife, and she's from rural Georgia. And he went to rural Georgia to visit her family and gave them kind of like a Black Lives Matter, really in depth.
411.
Huh?
So the 411.
Like one-on-one, like, you know, let's have some very real conversations. So, I mean, I don't doubt that he would have done that for me, but I love me some Black men.
Me too. How do y'all feel
Even if they don't love me back.
Well, there's that too. Well, yeah, that's often the conversation. How do y'all feel about, you know, interracial couples that they're not, you know, white? Do you think that, you know, people of color, like, let's say like the Lovebirds, like a Pakistani and a Black person, or, you know, a Korean and a Black person, do you think that they have it easier than dating a white person? Or do you think that it's the same type of struggles?
I think that that's all subjective and relative to the actual individuals in a relationship. And I say that, like, so let's see. For example, there are people of other races that are not white whose parents would not approve of their sons coming home with a Black woman, or B, a woman that's not of their same culture. And if you think about like arranged marriages, or even like wanting a woman who can adapt the culture. If there's a lot of cultural differences, I think that in some ways, white and Black could be less of a culture shock if they're like both like American, for example, versus like a person of color from a completely different environment. So I dated a Hispanic man once. He's from Honduras, and like he was very, very like he was very matter of fact and like overprotective when it came to relationships, and like very like it was kind of weird. He was like if you want to go to the movies, we go to the movies. What you need friends for? I'm your friend. Like he was like very like I'm your friend.
Oh,
I don't
wow.
like, and it wasn't even like it was just like this is just what it is. It was very matter of fact. It wasn't like, and he was very nice, very sweet man, but like his understanding of like what it looks like to be in a romantic relationship with someone, it was very narrow, and like that's like the flexibility and like the nuance just wasn't there with him. And that could be, I'm not saying that that's every coach, every like man that is from Honduras, but that was like my specific experience that was making it difficult. Like I feel like I'm in jail if I continue to date you. And I can't do that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, the only other guy that I've dated like a different race was I dated a very, actually wasn't even dating because I was 16 and I was not allowed to have a boyfriend, but we snuck around and were seeing each other, if you will. And he was older than me and I had no business. Like he was 21, I was 16 at the beginning. And then I got old, 17. Yeah, but anyway, yeah, he was from the Dominican Republic. He was very light-skinned, like pale with sunburn, all of that. And his parents would pretend like they liked me, but I knew they didn't like me. And I'm pretty sure, I think, was it his sister or brother? They were like, yeah, they don't really like you because you're black. I was like, got it. Well, there's that. But of course, when you're 16, you're like, the world is against us. They don't know what it's like to be in love and truly be in love.
Although there are Black Dominicans, which is like, again, like there's a lot of like colorism and racism in other cultures as well.
A lot of colorism, because when you look at the Dominican Republic as it is, like they were like beating up and throwing out Haitians that were over there like it was the plague. Like it was really a serious situation. So had I not left my tiny little town of Lehigh Acres, I probably would have ended up with that guy. My life would have looked a whole lot different, I'm pretty sure. Would I date a non-Black man? Guys, I don't know. Okay, so I had this like daydream about getting together with a white guy that had kids, right? And in the daydream, the guy, not only am I thinking about going to the grocery store and looking like the babysitter nanny help, I'm thinking about like, yo, this guy dies and leaves me with 2 young kids who don't even really understand racism like that. And I'm having to like take care of them and raise them. I'm going to write a short film about it. But I was just like, yo, I just don't know if I could get down with like the look of it. And I know that people gonna talk anyway and people gonna look and just be like, oh, what's that about? But I just don't know if I feel comfortable like having to like raise these 2 white kids like they did back in slavery. And like this, the look of it's just gonna look crazy. Like people constantly being like, oh, you know, are you gonna tell your babysitter that you're ready to go? And it's like, that's my mom. And like the kids like constantly having to be like, no, that's my mom. Guys, could you do that? Would you be able to adopt white kids? Do you think that you'd be able to raise white children?
White people adopt Black kids all the time.
Okay, that's not the question.
Yes, I would. Yes, I would. Yes.
What about you, Star?
Yeah, I mean,
they kids. They need a home, regardless of their color. It's not their fault that they were born white. I mean, it's not our fault we were born Black. But I had that issue when I had Kaylin. Kaylin was very, very bright. Even now, people ask me, is her dad white? I will be out with her. She's a baby. She was super, super bright, gray eyes, curly afro. And people would ask me, whose white baby is that? And she came from my body. People still ask now, is she half white? Is her dad white? So, I mean, I understand. but I would definitely adopt a white baby.
I just encourage my thing for like Black women. Like, I think everybody definitely has their own preferences, and even like, I think it is real, the social discomfort that you might have to deal with in being in a relationship is not like if you end up in that relationship, you will have to deal with stares and, you know, parents and teachers and all kinds of things, family members, potentially friends, coworkers that might have things to say. So that is a weight that I'm sure interracial couples date, and that, but the extent of that, I'm sure, is definitely subjective depending on the community around each person. But I just sheer numbers wise, it like if like Black women are more loyal to Black men than Black men are loyal to Black women, and I don't think that it serves Black women to only to limit your pool to Black men. Like it serves you a disservice more than anybody else. Now obviously, if there's just nobody, you know, outside of a race that you actually find that you want to be with, that's like one thing. But as far as on the front end, like limiting it is what I hope that a lot of Black women don't do. Now, you know, like I said, if you expand and you don't see anything you like, that's fine. But I just encourage you not to limit it on the front end, because you might find your Cam one day.
You might just, and you might be happy and get you your fluffy dog and your YouTube TV deal or whatever.
I dated a white guy before.
You did? How was your experience?
I was 19.
Okay. What was it like?
He was weird and quirky.
Mhm.
Definitely had some fetishes.
Oh. Why did it not work out? Not because he was white.
Because he was weird and quirky and had some fetishes.
Oh, it didn't work out because of those things. Got you.
Mm-hmm. He would ask me to use him as a footstool at the end of the day.
I'm sorry,
He
what?
would ask to keep my sweaty socks after work. He was like, after you've gone to work all day and gone to school all day, because I was working full time, going to school full time. He's like, bring me your sweaty socks and use me as a footstool. He's married to a Black woman now.
I don't think it necessarily have to do with race. He had fetishes.
You know, he was weird.
No, I said that. I said he had fetishes. He messed it up for anybody else after that. I'm sorry, y'all.
Okay.
I mean, I dated someone who had a foot fetish. That was weird.
Yeah, there are Black guys out there with whole weird things, guys. There's
almost every Black guy I meet has a foot fetish.
I hate feet.
Oh, send me a picture of your toes after you just got them done and put them in some nice heels. Or they'll zoom in on one of my pictures on Instagram and be like, you have the best toes ever.
Why? I don't get it. I don't understand the feet thing. I really don't get it.
I like feet. I don't have a foot fetish, but I like feet. Feet don't gross me out. Feet are nice.
Ugh.
I think feet are cleaner than hands. Your hands touch everything. They're kind of gross. But your feet, you know, you typically, they're in your shoes and your socks. You know, you can wash them.
No, we don't know.
Well, I'm not a weird foot person. Like, I don't mind if somebody puts their feet on me.
Ugh, I mind.
I don't mind rubbing my husband's feet or anything like that.
Jesus.
Okay, and so now it's time for our topic of the day.
That wasn't the topic.
Awkward kind of like transition, but got nothing else to say there. The topic of the day is, are Black women too defensive?
Oh, that goes into what we just talked about too, I guess.
Yeah, that's
off on that guy.
I literally thought that was that. Anyway, carry on.
We can briefly talk about this since we spent a lot of time in the last section.
Yeah, we can. So, do you?
It's still there. What's happening in your? There's a pen. Well, guys, while everyone is muted, I'm here.
Monologue.
My monologue.
Go Oh yeah, what's your monologue?
Well, I already gave one monologue. No, I was just gonna say I think about the song. I don't remember the title of the song, but it's by Solange, and it talks about I got a lot to be mad about. The song that she does with Wheezy, right? I think she does it with Wheezy. Like, why you always got to be so mad is the title of the song, and she says in response, I got a lot to be mad about. Wheezy's talking about letting it go, letting it go. But yeah, I think as Black women, we do got a lot to be mad about. I think that oftentimes we have to defend ourselves because we often are not defended. We are kind of left out there to dry. And I don't think that it is, I think to some, there are some women who their default is to be defensive because they have been hurt so many times. And there are situations where, you know, maybe it might have been taken the wrong way. But I don't think that to just call us Black women and just say all Black women are defensive and what have you, I don't think that it's okay to just be like, yeah, that's just their thing. Why is that their thing? Why do you think that women have had to be defensive for so long? Like, that's the main question. What is causing women to have to feel like they have to defend themselves so much in society? That's my question. Thoughts? Oh, y'all reading the article?
I think people are defensive in general. I think everybody's defensive. I just think that, like you said, like that Black women have a lot to be defensive about, so it could come off that way, and especially being like the most oppressed group, there's a lot to defend against. But if you talk about any group of people, they are going to come out swinging. What's that guy's name? It was a guy, Bill Burr, who was on SNL recently and was talking about white women, and white women got into an uproar about that. It's just the fact that Black women are talked about a lot more, and nobody cared for a long time, including Black women, because I feel like we start to like believe, once you've been like beaten down for so long, you start to believe some of the things that people say. Like you start to I feel like that's why like even like Black people in general, we have like a lot of Black people are also anti-Black because you start to believe the things that people say about you and say about your people. And so you begin to also perpetuate and continue those same narratives until we say enough is enough, and then we start speaking up and speaking for ourselves in ways that we didn't feel empowered to do so before. Especially when we start getting stats and seeing like, oh, we more educated than all y'all. Oh, we start lower and we like y'all been telling us that we weren't nothing, but everything that's coming out is proving that we are. And with that confidence and with that affirmation, we begin to like take up more space. And I think that we should be taking up more space.
Yep. And proud.
So I hate this notion of just like it always being on the Black woman. You know what I mean? I've been in a ton of spaces where there are angry women that are not just Black women, but we're always the ones that are deemed angry, loud, aggressive, defensive, like whatever. You know what I mean? I at this same tech company, I had said something. We were in the break room and the white girl did microaggressions all the time. And she was rude to people all the time. And nobody called her angry. Nobody called her rude. They was like, oh, she's a bee. Just stay out of her way. If that had been us, well, we're the aggressor. You know what I mean? One time she had said something to me and I was like, okay, we're done here. And then I got so smart with her and they were like, oh, you're really aggressive, Alyssa. She's been aggressive towards me for 8 months. As soon as I have a rebuttal, I'm the aggressive one. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it's like you only, like you were saying earlier, you only attribute certain things towards certain shades of skin. You know what I mean? Like Black women are always deemed aggressive, defensive, whatever. First off, we have every right to be, right? There have been so many instances where we've been in these spaces where we've been clearly disrespected and disregarded and, you know, hurt and all those things. And even in our pain, like, it's still not deemed justified. You know what I mean? Like, it's still not deemed justified. And even when people, well, when they go low, we go high. No, I'm done. We're tired here. Okay. I'm done. I'm done going high. And like we were talking about earlier, we protect Black men. What was that yesterday? That was probably yesterday, but it's not going to be in the episode, whatever. We have talked about, even with Meg Thee Stallion, how we protect Black men even when they hurt us. And I am not doing it anymore. Like, yes, you know, I love you, Black men, but not at the expense of me. You know what I mean? Not at the expense of, like, literally my detriment. And that's what you're asking. You're asking me to, you know, basically forsake my health and my wellness and all of that to make sure that you're good. You know, not happening.
Yeah. They don't defend us, then we have to defend ourselves.
We have to defend ourselves. And then if I saw this one video, I think Mario the singer posted it, and he said, like, we need to protect Black women. This guy thought he was just super cool, took a skateboard and like smacked the Black girl in the face, and his friends was like, oh, and started laughing and stuff. And I'm like, not one of y'all decided, hey, let's not smack somebody in the face with a skateboard. You know what I mean? Nobody said that. And that's just the culture along, like, that's just the culture. Like, nobody stands up for us. And then if we stand up for ourselves, it's like, oh, Tory Lanez, he shot her because she tall. Like, how many tall women are out there that they are still protected?
Yeah, this is ridiculous. And this goes back to our whole discussion about, like, do we feel protected by Black men? You know, no, because they're not defending us out in public. And this is why we have to be so defensive, because oftentimes they are the ones that are our attackers. They are the ones that are our assaulters. So of course we have to, like, stand for our own self and protect our own self and take whatever matters into our own hands and speak up for ourselves, because we can't just be passive. And, like, yes, in this other stereotype is that, oh, you know, white women, they're more agreeable, and, you know, they're like, you know, they go along with stuff. They're not gonna, like, you know, try to pick fights and what have you. We know that that's a lie from the pit of hell. It's just the way that it's portrayed.
That's a lie.
Okay, it's the way that it's portrayed in the media. Oftentimes, yes, our rom-coms, like we just did our whole series, like, often perpetuates this stereotype that, yes, we're loud and we're aggressive and we're gonna do all these things to keep a man or get a man or what have you. And then the white women are just like, oh, I'm just, like, quirky and mousy, and, you know, I'm awkward, and, oh, you know, like, yeah, it's a cruel world that we live in, where it's just that we haven't been protected for hundreds, if not thousands of years. And then this is just the scarlet letter that we are just destined to wear of, well, you speak up for yourself, then you're aggressive and you're defensive. If you don't, then you're not really worth it. And, like, you know, you have to stand up for yourself. You know, you have to speak up in public spaces so that you can earn the respect. The society, like, is all about earning people's respect, earning, you know, people's trust and what have you. Not so much about, like, well, let's ask the questions as to why.
Yeah, and even when you have an altercation with a Black man, oh, well, you know, you have to understand where he's coming from. You have to, you know, no, I don't, because he hurt me. Mm-hmm. He needs to have like we said earlier, accountability for actions. You can't get mad at my reaction when you are purposely or intentionally hurting me and still expecting me to be nice to you or cordial or, you know, easygoing. No, it doesn't work like that. Y'all sit up here and for one, if y'all do marry us, we got to put in more work, if, you know, as much work as you, or if not more. That's number one. Number two, most of the time y'all don't deem us worthy enough to marry, but y'all deem us worthy enough to lay down with. Y'all definitely don't deem us worthy enough to bring into wealth with, when y'all are, like, you know what I mean? With the ball players, the rappers, whatever, they don't deem that article with 50 Cent and Lil Wayne, when they were talking about oh, it's just something about, an exotic woman, something you can't get in the hood, and Lil Wayne dating a white woman. That is a white woman. Is something exotic about that? Ain't nothing exotic about the fact that you like have a black daughter and you still don't want to be like the fact that they see us as less than, and you wonder why we're so defensive. You wonder why we're so angry. You treat us like trash and expect us to be like, oh, that's fine. Just treat me any way you like. I'm just glad to be in your presence. No, I'm not going to just accept whatever you offer just because you're offering it. Good day.
Exactly. You're muted.
The smile at the end, it was hilarious. No, good day.
Because I realized that I went on a whole tangent. It was like...
Girl, you laid it out. You laid it out. You let them know.
Well, that's it, and that's all. All right,
and that's that on that. But even in the instance of Cardi B, right? You think what? Because he bought her a truck that she could have bought herself, even though Cardi B is not black. He bought her a truck that.
Black.
Huh?
He's half black.
Mm.
Yeah, she is. She's like half Trinidadian, isn't she? Pretty sure.
You can be Trinidadian and not be black. Same way you can be Dominican.
She's Hispanic. She's Hispanic.
I thought she was. We'll look at it.
Give me a second.
Anyway,
she does consider herself Afro-Latina, but anyways, continue to listen.
Yeah, but even in that, right? Even if she is deemed half black, right? Even if she is seen as black, you expect just because somebody was able to buy her a car that she was able to buy herself, like we were talking about on last week's episode, you do, that was technically yesterday, whatever. You're doing all of these other things except the one thing I've asked you to do. And because you bought me an expensive car, you want me to just, all right, I'll take you back just because, you know what I mean? You're still not going to change. You're still not going to treat me better, but you just want me to just accept whatever you're offering just because you're offering it. No, thank you. Okay. She can't even drive.
Bye.
Bye. And, that's another conversation for another day, how much work you got to put in or how much you're supposed to put in. But I just really don't. They wonder why we're defensive. That's like poking a bear. My dad said this the other day. That's like poking a bear and then getting mad when it growls at you. Right. Oh, you ain't got to growl, but you done called me every single name in the book. You done, treated me this way. You done, one guy told me, what was it, a couple weeks ago? He was like, and I'm not saying anything negative about someone's job or their status in life or whatever, but he was just like, he didn't make a lot of money and he was 31, still had dreams of going to the NBA. And I'm encouraging him. I'm like, you can do it. You can do anything you put your mind to, blah, blah. And you know what he told me? Oh, you got kids? Oh, I don't date women with more than 2 kids. Says the 31-year-old with hoop dreams of making it to the NBA.
Yikes. Well,
after you've already asked me to buy you a PS5 on the first conversation.
Listen.
Oh, I definitely wasn't doing that. Yeah, I don't buy my kid not getting a PS5. You think he's getting a PS5?
Yikes. What is wrong with these men? Well, anyway, y'all, those are our thoughts on our experiences with interracial dating. And yes, feel free, if you still want to, send us comments about your experiences. Maybe you've had some amazing ones. Maybe you've had some trifling ones. We would still love to hear about them. And also, feel free to drop us a line about any topics that you would like for us to talk about next. Is it finances? Is it faith? Is it men? Is it whatever? We want to hear from you as Black women and our faithful listeners. So thank you so much for tuning in again to Speak Brown Girl Podcast.
Yeah.
Alyssa be jumping off before.
Wait.